Hi everyone. So, if you watched our last video, then you know that we're talking about the 5-1 profile. And for the next couple videos, we'll be looking at a 5-1 profile generator's body graph. It won't be the exact same as every 5-1 generator. But if you have something that is the same as this body graph, then you can resonate and you can get some of this information and help you operate as your best self. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses in the chart. We're going to talk about how everything in the chart can be utilized as a strength if you're operating at the high point of the placement. Otherwise, if you're operating in a lower aspect of it, which we'll talk about how that can play and how that can materialize as dis-ease in the body or disorder in the mind and the body. And some of the things that I saw from the individual whose chart this is. And so you can try to be ahead of some things and maybe not experience things so severely, but catch it quick and align yourself to operate at your best, as your best self. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, go ahead and look at this chart. And if you see my eyes moving, it's because I'm going from the camera to looking straight at the screen. And yeah, so go ahead and look at this body graph. And as you can see, well, today we'll talk about the authority, and we'll talk about the defined and undefined centers. So as you look at this chart, you see that the undefined centers are the ones that are white. The defined centers are the ones that are in color. What's the difference? Okay. Your defined centers are where you give energy and you're more defined in that understanding of yourself. The undefined centers are where you receive energy and you have to actually do more work to be defined in those areas, and you can be more open to influence. Now, can that still happen to your defined areas? Yes. Because somebody can still give energy and you can still feel energy and receive it in different aspects of your centers. Now, it's up to you how aligned you are, how balanced you are, how in sync you are with your centers, how healthy you are. So to just see how you're operating with your chart. So let's look at this one. We'll start from the top, go down to the bottom, and then have an understanding of how they affect one another or can affect on a positive or negative aspect. Okay? Then tomorrow we'll get into the energy channels and then talk about how that affected this individual, and then put it all together and let you choose how you would operate within this chart. Okay? So first you see they have a open head and open Anya. So what does that mean? You know what? Before we even start breaking down what the head and the Anya is, let's just look at it. If you don't know this person or anything about human design and you just look at this body graph, the first thing that I would think, just looking at this and knowing nothing, is that this person looks grounded. They're open at the top, but they're defined at the bottom. Their root, their sacral, their solar plexus, their heart, like everything is just it's so defined. But up top, they're so open. So they look very illuminated, very spiritually illuminated and kind of airy, but still grounded in an understanding of that spiritual knowledge. And what'll happen is, as we start to bust down this chart, you'll see how the strengths and the weaknesses of this individual, it kind of plays a part in that. So let's start from the top. Open head, open Anya, open throat, open G center. What does that mean? Open head. So that means they're receiving information all the time. They're receiving information from the spiritual realm. They're receiving information from people next to them. They're receiving the energy. They're hearing thoughts. They're getting pressures in those areas. You know that you are not yourself when, in this case, you start to have, like, you're just thinking about stuff that don't even matter. Just random thoughts. That means you're just getting energy pressure into that space. Your Anya, as an open Anya. So what that means is they can receive spiritual messages. They can receive, and they can see that in others. They can easily answer even the unasked questions. You know, like they answering questions, they're open to it. They're always receiving. They're always open to receive in that space. And then open throat. People with an open throat are like the narrators of life. They make good speakers. They make very good musicians and poets and stuff like that, because they're able to take in the energy of what everybody wants to say, and the language that they wanted, the frequencies that they want to say it in, and be able to say it and communicate it. So this is a person that's taking energy from the head and the thoughts, the spiritual realm, and the actual word and communication of all their surroundings, and able to give that. But then they also have an open G center. Now this is where things start to get tricky, because your G center, that's your identity, that's your love, that's your direction, and it's open. So when you have an open center like this, now you're open to, and even with all of these centers, so now you're open to taking in all this information while looking for direction, trying to understand from all of these different sources, what is love? Which direction should I go? Who am I? And then I can see that we're gonna have to break this down into a few videos, because I want to really touch on just a couple more things and talk about that. Because then you have a defined sacral, not sacral, a defined heart center. And when it comes to human design, that center handles your ego, how you experience the material world, self-worth, and all those things. People with a defined, we call it the ego center, with a defined ego center, always like pumping energy out of that space. They have to be very mindful that they are operating within their purpose and their own inner channels, and are very balanced inside. Otherwise, they'll be looking for materials to weigh out their self-worth. So a person that is searching, that is open to their identity and open to direction and understanding, not defined in what love is, and then have something to prove because of this defined ego center. So now they have something to prove, and in their mind, materials is how you prove to have worth in life. That's dangerous. And then their authority is emotional. It's solar plexus authority. So this is a generator, right? So let's just talk about those aspects that we already touched on before we even get to anything else. Let's just talk about those things, right? So here you have a 5-1, right? And 5-1s are designed of stillness, of patience, of wisdom, of which walking their walk. And then with the wisdom that comes with that, what comes to them, now they can give that, because they know what they can be strategic about it. They can be very precise about it because they learned the lessons. They were wise, they were walking, and they were experiencing, right? Well, if you are a 5-1 that is experiencing, not understanding their direction, and not grounded, not in your stillness, because you look at this body graph, they are designed to be grounded. But if they are not operating in their stillness and allowing that reflection, so they can bring in all the information and be able to weigh it out and balance it out, and be able to be aware that it's coming in and not out of them, because it's the generator, so they're always creating and generating new life force energy. But what is it being focused on? What are they building? You can get very stagnant or be trying to build or trying to make people do what you want them to do based on all these different things that you think is important, because your self-worth is based on materials. So how do I get these materials? It's the whole energy and the whole passion, where at the same time you're so open to spiritual knowledge and designed to be the spokesperson of the next person. Designed to be able to understand and to receive without even having to speak. That's the level of wisdom this person can have, the level of connection with another person this person can have. But it all depends if they take the time to meditate, to listen to what's coming through, to feel if there's any pressures in these open centers, to feel what's their energy versus someone else's, what's their thoughts versus someone else's, what's their purpose versus someone else's, what's their identity versus someone else's. Because only when they can understand their own direction can you ever be a good leader for someone else. You have to walk your path and have worth and self-worth that aligns with that aligns with your purpose, that aligns with your natural flows and skill sets in life. Not what society is saying is cool or makes money or this or that or says if you're somebody or not, especially in this world of technology and social media. I can't stress that enough, because you get on your timeline and see all of these things. And if you're you're open, and it's already enough without that receiving, just being outside, just being alive, you're going to be receiving. So now you're tapping into this virtual brain that man created and consciousness, where everybody is like seeing themselves do telepathy. It's just like a materialized version of spiritual knowledge. And you're receiving all of this. And you're telling yourself, okay, this is what people like. This is what people love. Oh, this is what gets attention. This is the identity that people draw to. So then you start to mimic it. Rather than take time with yourself to find out where you're strong and authentic. Because that authenticity, that archetypal energy, that's what people draw to mimic. Which one are you going to be? Or that's what they draw to learn how to be connected with their archetypal energy, with their design, with their truth. So this person, if you have a open head or Anya or throat or G center, and then at the same time have a defined ego center, please make sure that what you are trying to prove or feel like you gotta prove has to do with your purpose, and you're only proving it to you, not somebody on Instagram, not somebody that dumped you, not just society in general and what they say is cool or not, because that's going to change next year, next month, tomorrow. You're going to change again. Like, understand you, what makes you happy, who you are, what your skills are, and what your flow is. And we'll be able to get deeper in that when we start talking about the gates and the energy channels within this body graph. But just for right now, we're going to stop right there so you can soak that in, and we'll continue tomorrow. Okay? So this was the 5-1 profile, open head, Anya, throat, and G center with a defined ego center. Okay? Because you are receiving so much information. What you do with it, how you weigh it out, how you apply it, and while in your stillness, how you become strategic with it to be sufficient and efficient enough to where people just are like, I want to follow and listen to this individual. Like, they got it down. That's up to you and how you receive the information, and not be moved by all the energy that comes to you. and not get just all discombobulated and end up with all these different identities and all these different energies that you're cultivating based on the different masks that you have to wear to finesse in order to move through society and prove that you have worth to it. Okay? You're alive. You have worth. Every step you take, every time you open your mouth, is a vibration comes out. A wave that affects the next living thing and the next living thing. Anything that comes around you, you affected it. Even if it's just in traffic. You being on the road affected everybody else around you in that traffic. The person that cut you off. The person that you're in front of when you got the decision to go faster when it was yellow, but you stopped. Now you both stopped at the red light. You know what I mean? Like you have value. Your domino effect is just by living. Now it's up to you to choose to be individual, unique, and to understand yourself. So you're not going haywire, but you are your most godliest self, because you're in the way that the universe, God, whatever you call it, that creating life force that is higher, more conscious than all of us. You are in its design. Okay? So peace and love, you guys. We'll continue tomorrow. And this may be my last human design video on this channel. Okay? You're going to have to go to the Divine Assets channel, but I will let you know.